This is Grooves, and today I'm your host. My name's Logan Sama. You might recognize my voice from commentating Street Fighter events for the last few years, but if you don't, no worries, and you also don't need to be a Street Fighter fan to enjoy tonight's show, because I'm going to be delving into some of the games that were really important to me over the first few years of me engaging with video games. What you're going to be hearing in tonight's playlist is mostly tracks from the early to mid 90s, because that's when the bug of playing games really got hold of me. And we're talking about, classic SNES games. We're going to be talking about some classic arcade games as well. Some really incredible tracks that have just burnt their way into my brain and stayed there through hours and hours and hours of replay. First track up is one of the most important to me. This was really the moment when I was blown away by what video games could be. I had a NES, I really enjoyed the Mario series, especially Mario 3, looked beautiful. But that Christmas in 1992, when I got my Super Nintendo with Super Mario World, I felt like I was playing an actual cartoon, like I was in control of a cartoon. And from playing the demo console in my local electronics store for hours and hours and hours, it was this theme, the Overworld theme, that for me immediately takes me back to being an 11-year-old boy, super excited for this brand new game, this incredible console, and what would become a great journey for me. Playing the Super Nintendo, I got into RPGs, specifically JRPGs. It was a genre that I didn't really know anything about before the Super Nintendo came out, and one of my favourites is probably not at the top of anyone else's list, but it's one that I love dearly, Secret of Mana, and this is the intro theme to that, Fear of the Heavens. Staying on JRPGs, and a game that I was obsessed with for ages before I even got to play it because it took so long for the European release, was Final Fantasy VI. And when it did come out, I put months of my life into this game in 1995. I think for me, the music was such a huge part of this game. And of course, Nobuo Uematsu went on to do huge work on Final Fantasy VII, but this for me is my favourite ever Final Fantasy game. This track is very heavily reminiscent of Terra's theme. It's called Awakening. It's like a riff on Terra's theme, and it's my favourite track on the soundtrack. Check it out right now. we're putting together these playlists, I've got to give you some obvious ones. So let's go from 6 to Final Fantasy 7. The reason why I bought a PlayStation 1, one of the biggest games of all time. Next up, we've got Aerith's theme, and this is a very important one to me. I had a great night watching this performed live at the Royal Albert Hall with my beautiful partner. It's a very powerful piece of music, and it means a lot to me. So let's share it with you right now. Alright, let's switch the vibes up, get a bit more up-tempo. We're going to go back to the 16-bit era, although the very tail end of it. Donkey Kong Country dropped by Rare, and it was an incredible technological feat of the time, and I really love this track because it opens up with like an old-school chipset sound and drops into that wide sound that we know from this game. So let's check it out. This is the main theme, Donkey Kong Country. This next one's a very well-known one as well. It's from Mega Man 2, because I never owned Mega Man 1, and I'm sure lots of you listening will know this. Dr. Wily's Castle, keeping it upbeat here on Tenno Grooves with myself, Logan Sama. Alright, let's get a little bit weird now. This one's from a game that frustrated the hell out of me. At a time before I owned a Game Genie, zombies ate my neighbors on the SNES drove me to frustration. And it's got a really unique soundtrack as well. So let's kick it off with this. It's called Weird Kids on the Block. Before they became a multi-billion dollar company. Blizzard was just a small publisher based out of the UK, and they made this game for the Super Nintendo called The Lost Vikings, one of their first ever games, and I loved it. And this track is absolutely full of early 90s breakbeat hardcore influence from the UK dance scene. It's called The Croutonian Ship. When I was a kid with the Super Nintendo, I only got to get 2 games a year, birthday and Christmas. That was it. So I became weirdly obsessed with the games that I picked. And not a lot of people will probably know this, the Addams Family Pugsley's Scavenger Hunt. It's one of the most difficult games ever made. It was so infuriating, but the music was beautiful. I'm going to play this one from the Icebox stage. Now, amusingly, I got into The Legend of Zelda not through A Link to the Past, not through Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time. I got into The Legend of Zelda through Zelda 4 Link's Awakening on the Game Boy. And I've got so many memories of desperately trying to find light to view the screen whilst this theme was playing on loop. So you get to enjoy it right now. Sharing a bit of joy, this is the Overworld main theme from Zelda 4 Link's Awakening. Moving forward in the eras, the 64-bit era, and the N64 was a firm fixture in my front room growing up as a teenager, and I had many hours of enjoyable multiplayer, 4-player action, and there wasn't much more fierce versus battles than in Mario Kart 64. This theme from Wario Stadium was definitely my favourite and the one I remember the most from this game. Another game that I love for the multiplayer option, although it wasn't really spoken about a lot, was Star Fox 64, or Lilac Wars 64 it was called for some reason in Europe. This stage was my favourite theme, Area 6, so let's check it out. The next track I'm going to play you is off of Wolverine Adamantium Rage on the Super Nintendo by Acclaim. And this track is particularly pertinent, not because I played the game, but it is argued that the sounds in this are the precursor for the genre of music I ended up DJing later on in my life, grime. This is arguably one of the first grime sounding tracks. It's got all the elements in there, the dark synths, the break beats, the up-tempo sounds. So check this one out. Wolverine Adamantium Rage. This track is entitled Tri-Fusion. Since we're on an X-Men theme, I'm going to play one of my favourite arcade titles that I remember seeing out and about when I was a kid. I was so impressed by arcades because the quality of the graphics was so much better than what you could get at home. And this one was amazing for me. X-Men, Children of the Atom. This is Mojo's World Spiral theme. Another Capcom arcade classic for me. Well, it might not be for many other people, but it's a classic for me because I threw so much money into this arcade when I was on holiday as a kid. and I was never able to beat the game. I only got as far as this stage. It's Captain Commando Stage 9, Callisto stage. Check this one out. After a brief trip to the arcade, we're going to go back to the home gaming. And I don't know how big this was in the States, but we're going to play some Amiga classics. The Commodore Amiga was massive in the UK for games, and we had a load of titles that were produced by a company called Sensible. And one of the biggest of those was this title, Sensible World of Soccer. I poured absolutely hours into this game, which meant I heard this menu theme over and over and over. Let's check it out right now. Another one of my favourite sensible published games on the Amiga was Cannon Fodder. And this was quite unique back in the day because it had a full FMV intro on the floppy disk. And it was like a really weird, like reggae war song. It was really, really peculiar. It stuck with me. And now you're going to have to hear it. Check it out.
Never been so much fun. 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 Go to your brother, kill him with your gun. Leave him lying in his uniform, dying in the sun. Never been so much fun. Never been so much fun. Never been so much fun. Never been so much fun.
Alright, we're going back to the arcades and some weird songs again, but this time it's Sega. Sega Rally was definitely one of my favourite arcade games. It was so impressive at the time and I absolutely was obsessed with this. So let's get into this track, My Dear Friend Rally. I definitely could not talk about games that had an effect on me in the 90s in the arcade without talking about Time Crisis. What a revolutionary game that was. Absolutely incredible stuff, and I would hear this over and over and over and over again. It's burned into my mind like so many others, which means you're going to have to hear it right now. This is stage 1.1 from Time Crisis. Alright, it's nearly the end of the show, and I feel like it would be wrong for me to not talk about fighting games at all. So I'm going to leave you on my favourite track from the first ever fighting game that I owned, and it was Street Fighter Alpha 2 on the Super Nintendo. Yes, possibly the worst port ever made in history, but this is what got me into fighting games. Here it is, the Akuma theme from that game. I hope you've enjoyed my grooves with Tenno, a little bit of my history in gaming. Of course, you can go back and check out the track listing, and make sure you are following or even subscribed to the fine folks here at Tenno Media on Twitch for the rest of this 24/7 broadcast. Don't go anywhere.